without God, you will never be a good trader. So while you can make money trading, yes, without God, and you can learn all the fundamentals. I've learned it all. I've taught it all. One thing I never really was telling people when I was teaching was to put God first, right? Because it wasn't a part of my trading. I would teach people technicals, fundamentals. I would tell people, get your psychology right. That's one of the biggest things that helped me, was working on my psychology, being in control of my emotions, and even being disciplined. I would tell people, to be disciplined, you got to get up and go to the gym every day, or you got to get up and do stuff you don't like doing. But a good way to even become disciplined is by just building a relationship with God, or anything you really want to learn, not being greedy, not being fearful, like learning how to just walk away and not being angry. All of these things are in the Bible. And if you think about it, the Bible has a bunch of rules that you have to follow, right? And if you follow those set of rules, then, it shows that you're disciplined. It shows that, you might not want to do these things, or you might not want to get up and read the Bible, or you might not want to do the things that you have to do every day, but you still end up doing it anyways. Right? So if you're able to do that, and you're able to be disciplined and follow the word every single day, you can do the same thing in your trading plan, right? So going to the gym is good as well, but if you go to the gym every single day, being consistent, reading your Bible every single day, being consistent, those things, will help you become the man you want to become, especially when it comes to trading, but it'll help you outside of trading as well. So why I say this is because, it comes to a point where you learn everything, right? You learn the technicals, you learn the fundamentals, you learn different market conditions, everything you're going to pretty much learn it all, and you're going to still be struggling. You're going to say, why am I still struggling? Why am I still struggling? And you're going to see it's going to be things that you just can't control and that you don't know how to control. Like you're going to be trading and you're going to lose, and you're going to lose a couple times. You're going to get angry. You're going to start over trading. But then you're going to realize, when you follow God, you're going to realize over trading and doing things like that is getting angry, and sometimes you made a lot of money today and you're still trading, so now you're being greedy. All these things, you realize that they're against God, and you're not trading with God. And once you trade with God, you trade better, and you're doing it morally. You know what I mean? So I just think that if you're following God, it's the best route to become successful and make the most money you want in trading. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my story. So me coming up as a trader, yes, I did make a lot of money when I first started coming up as a trader, and I wasn't really following God like that. I think the biggest thing for me was I had a lot of discipline at the time because I really wanted it. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be successful so bad. So I was disciplined, and I was doing the right things. I was getting up every day. I was putting times on the charts. Even if I didn't want to, I'd make sure I'd get up. I was doing it because I was motivated and I wanted it, so I did it. You know what I mean? But then when I started making money, that motivation dies. That's what they don't tell you. When you get the money, the motivation dies. It doesn't last forever. Once you get the money, you get the car, you live in Miami. It doesn't last anymore. It just becomes things. And now you have to follow on the discipline. And I was not disciplined. I was not disciplined at all, right? And it was a lot of things that I was battling, right? Like lust was a big thing that I was battling. When I was in Miami, it's women everywhere. So, battling lust down here is really hard. Waking up every day, because I'm always, out doing something, So being disciplined is a good thing to have, and it's hard to be disciplined when you're at the top like that. But if you have God, you can be disciplined and do whatever. So why I say this now is because when I started losing the things, like when I went to jail because of my own lust, I went to jail because of my own lust. Not in a bad way, but it was a situation with my girlfriend and another girl, and I got caught cheating, so that's why I say lust. But yeah, so situations like that will literally bring you on a downfall. Had I would have just been focused, disciplined, following the word, because I was, like following it, but not really as much. But if I was just sitting there following the word, I would have never been in that situation. My trading would have been 10 times better than it was. Would have been making way more money than it was, because I would have just been following the plan every single day, doing what I gotta do, getting up, going to the gym, something I wasn't doing also that I do more of now. So it just helps you become a better person overall. And if you're a better person overall, you'll be a better trader overall. So that's why I always will vouch for that, and that's pretty much my story. And I could say I trade 10 times better just by following God. I know how to not be greedy. I know how to walk away. I've always known how to control my emotions in trading, but I feel like it helps me be more disciplined, because if you follow the commandments, or you get up and read your Bible every day even though you don't want to, praying every day, stuff like that, it being consistent, you'll do the same thing. It'll come over into trading. Or even if you're working out, it'll come over into trading. So those are a couple of things that you can do if you want to become a better trader, because like I said, it comes to a point in time where you learn everything, right? You already know how to trade. You already know what everything already is. and you're still going to be sitting there stuck. But you don't realize, you'll be more aware of your emotions. You'll be more aware of the bad decisions that you make when you follow God. You'll be more aware of everything. You won't start making the same mistakes. When you get angry, you're not really following God. You don't even notice that you're getting angry. When you're being greedy, you don't realize it because you're not following God. When you're, any type of evil emotion, you're not realizing it more until you follow God. When you follow God, every time you do it or about to do it, you feel like a little guilt. So it'll help you not be able to do it on the church because you know you want to do the right thing for God. And also, you want to make money. And anytime you feel that guilt, you always pretty much lose money. You don't win money when you feel that. And you go against it. Why go against it? You know what I mean? So that's just my experience with that. I started trading when I was about 18, like right out of high school. It was around the time COVID was around. I wasn't really making any money at the time. I was doing crypto. Even years later, I still wasn't making money trading. It was about like 3 years in, I still wasn't making money. I was working at Walmart at the time. That's usually the videos you guys be seeing. Yeah, and then from working at Walmart, I just locked in because I realized the reason for my success, or the reason why I wasn't successful in beginning, was because a lot of the times what I would do is I would be on and off, and I didn't realize I was on and off. So I'd be partying one week. Every time spring break came around, I was there. You know what I mean? So I'd be doing all that, and then when it's time to, trade or anything like that, I wouldn't have no time for it because I was doing other things. And then plus at the time, I think I was doing YouTube. So it was hard to like lock in. I had all these other things going on, and then I'd use the rest of my free time. I'd be at work, so I didn't have no time to do nothing. But then I stopped going to parties, I stopped being around women and all this other stuff, and then I just locked myself in a room for like 4 or 5 months, just straight locked myself in a room and learned everything. Would be on YouTube for like 5 hours a day, watch trading videos back to back, take notes every single day until I learned everything. And I still didn't make money, bro, for like a year. And I was like, I started to not believe in it. I started to believe it wasn't even real. And then most people you see online are just like marketers. So I used to like really tell myself like, damn, is this even real? And then like, it was so crazy because when I learned everything, I used to think like there was a certain strategy you could use that could help you win. But then I realized like, it doesn't really matter the strategy that you use. You still gonna pretty much lose proof. I used to always think it was a strategy that could. And then I was like, dang, most of these guys, they just make YouTube and sell courses, so I don't know. I didn't know what to believe in, man. It just seemed so impossible. But I don't know. And then, I just kept doing it because I was like, I don't know anything else. So if I don't do it, then I'm going to be here anyways. If I do it and I fail, I'm going to be here. But if I don't fail, then I guess I'll be out of here. So I kind of just did it, like, because I had nothing else to do. And I just was like, if it pays off, it does. If not, I tried type shit. But, like, yeah. And then sooner or later it did. And then the bad habits came after I made the money. So the thing about me is that I had the same bad habits. I just had more money with the bad habits. I didn't realize that. So God gave me exactly what I asked for. But I did not give him what he asked for. So all he wanted in return was for me to follow him, and I did not. I failed. And even at a lower level, I did not follow God like that. So I'm surprised he even gave me any type of success, but he did anyways. God, it failed. But at least I could learn from that and then try to become better and now follow him with my success. So now when my chance does come again, I have God with me this time rather than like, treating him like, he's not, like he's a, you know what I mean? So if you want to become the best trader you are, there are 5 things you literally have to have. Well, actually 6. So one I would say is you need good habits, right? Any bad habits you have to cut them off. So if you have a habit of, getting on the game or scrolling reels or, wasting time, bad foods, being undisciplined is, part of the next one I was gonna say. But yeah, things like those, bad habits will kill your trading, man. Because it'll correlate over. If you have bad habits in real life, it'll correlate over into trading. Anything you have a real problem with in real life, it will correlate over to trading. And that is why you have to make sure you're just as good in real life, because it will correlate over to the charts. If you're an angry person in real life, you'll be angry when it comes to trading. If you're a greedy person in real life, you'll be greedy when it comes to trading. If you gamble in real life, you will gamble when it comes to trading. You know what I mean? So it's things that correlate over. Everything correlates over everything you do. You know. So second most important thing I'd say is learning. Learning is always gonna be important. Probably the most important friend to have, because without the knowledge, you will not get far. Okay, you have to know everything when it comes to trading. This is a skill that can change your life. This is a skill that can bring you in $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $1 million a month. This skill has no cap. So with a skill that has no cap, you have to learn everything about it. You can't leave an inch of room out. And every time I've done that, I've left like a room of space that I didn't think was important. You know, I realized later on down the line it was important. For me in the beginning, I didn't care about news. News is very important because I used to lose a lot of times I didn't know where news was or when news was. So that's a perfect example of what I mean when I mean learning comes first. You have to learn about these things. You have to learn what news times are, what the news are, how they can affect what you're trading. You know, you have to dig into everything really deep. So, another thing, you have to be very disciplined. Very, very disciplined. Very disciplined. And for some of you guys, you're young, so it's very hard to be disciplined. But, like I said, when you follow God, you will learn how to become disciplined. Because if you can follow His commandments, then you will learn how to be disciplined just from following His commandments. Right? So, a lot of these people will tell you a lot of different things that you can do to become disciplined. The thing I'm going to tell you that's going to help you most to become disciplined is following God. That's it. And when I say follow God, follow His word. Follow His words. Follow the things that He's telling you in the Bible. Because if you do, it'll help you become any more disciplined than anything else you can do in this world. It'll correlate over. But, you know, that's just one of them. Another way being disciplined. Like I said, going to the gym. If you're not a gym person, it's even better. Now you should go even more. Because it'll help you be even more disciplined. So, reading. Like, anything that is just extremely boring, do it. It'll help you be more disciplined. Like, anything. Like, no matter what it is. Another thing is time. You can't skip time. A lot of people, you can have as much knowledge as you want. You can learn trading in 3 months. But you will probably not be profitable. But not because you don't know everything. Or not because you're not following God. It's because of the timing. You have to sit in the markets and learn different markets. How the market moves. This is a big thing that I'm recently learning myself. You could be trading for 4 or 5 months using the same strategy. You can pull in $10,000 each month, and on that next month you make $0. You know why? Because different market conditions. And you wouldn't know that unless you've been trading for a longer time. You learn how the market moves in different times versus the summer when nobody's really trading versus when, you know, the year starts back out and everybody is trading. You know, it's certain holidays when it's not really moving. It's a lot of things you have to learn. So that's just comes with time. Time in the market is good. So I'd say after 1 year, you'd be good. You learn a little bit of the movements. You've been through month to month and seen how everything moves in different months. See how it moves more. See how it moves less. You know, so that's a good thing to have and learn. Lastly, what I think was the most importantly before, or not lastly, but fifth, psychology. Psychology is very important. If you're fearful, if you're greedy, these are things that can help you stay unprofitable, and these are signs of a bad trading psychology. Another thing surprising is being confident. It can be bad just as bad as being angry or being scared. Being overconfident can be just as bad because when you're overconfident, you start putting on more money on trade because you've been winning and doing so good, right? So you're like, okay, bet, let me go and take this next trade and 4 or 5 times my risk because I've been winning. It's a sign of bad psychology because it shows that you can't really follow the rules that you had set in place for yourself. If you want to be a better trader, you don't think with your emotions. You kind of have to be like a robot in a way. You have to follow a system, right? And if you're outside of that system, you're going to end up losing money. So you might think you're going to win that next trade because you've been winning so much and you might upsize and then you're going to lose that. And then let's say you do win that. It's going to give you a bad habit. So you're going to win after that trade that you did and you put 4 or 5 times on and now you made $10,000 cool, but now you made $10,000 $8,000 with a bad habit and a bad psychology, and that's gonna run on over, and then sooner or later you're gonna have like $30,000 in your account, $40,000 in your account, right? You're gonna have that same bad psychology, and then you're gonna end up losing really big. You're gonna end up losing $30,000, $40,000, and after that you're gonna be at maybe at $10,000. And then you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna go on and take that 10x trade like you did from before, and you're gonna think it's gonna hit because you did it before. Those bad habits will add up in those bad times just as much as they add up in those good times, and you're gonna see it, and then you're gonna regret having those habits altogether. Damn, I wish I would never did that. That's why winning sometimes doesn't always mean you're right in trading. Winning doesn't mean you're right. Following your rules means you're right. If you follow your rules and you didn't upsize on that trade, and the guy that upsized on his trade and made $5,000, I would say congratulations to the guy that made $1,000, because the guy with $1,000, he followed his rules. At the end of the day, following your rules are the most important part, and it shows that you have good psychology. And signs of good psychology is the people who last in this game the longest. Bad psychology will kill you, especially when you're months in and you're not making money, because sometimes you can go dry for a couple months, bro. It's real. It's not like once you get it, you get it. Sometimes you get it and you can still have bad months. Like, it's just normal. So you just gotta have good psychology and be able to deal with the good months just as well as the bad. One of the most important parts of this journey that most people don't talk about is faith. And that's why I say you have to follow God. So one of the most hardest things when you're coming up as a trader is having faith, because you don't know the outcome. You don't know what's going to happen. It seems like something that's very hard when you first start out. Everything is extremely hard to learn when you first start out. You're doing everything right, but you're still losing when you first start out. So one of the most important things you have to have as a beginner trader is a lot of faith. And I think that following God and having a lot of faith, following his plans and following his commandments and doing everything that he's saying, even though you can't physically see him and never have, you're just relying on, your faith. And the same thing correlates over in trading. So I feel like you just have to be connected with God. And I feel like anybody that is a good trader always puts God first. Like, you can name any of them. They will always tell you that they put God first. And that's why I say you have to follow God. So one of the most hardest things when you're coming up as a trader is having faith, because you don't know the outcome. You don't know what's going to happen. It seems like something that's very hard when you first start out. Everything is extremely hard to learn when you first start out. You're doing everything right, but you're still losing when you first start out. So one of the most important things you have to have as a beginner trader is a lot of faith. And I think that following God and having a lot of faith, following his plans and following his commandments and doing everything that he's saying, even though you can't physically see him and never have, you're just relying on, your faith. And the same thing correlates over in trading. So I feel like you just have to be connected with God. And I feel like anybody that is a good trader always puts God first. You can name any of them. They will always tell you that they put God first. Everybody wants this get rich quick scheme. Everybody wants to make money extremely fast, and they think that trading is the best route to it. That's why a lot of people flock over to trading, because they think you can just make thousands of dollars in a couple seconds. But one, that's not the reality of trading, and two, speaking from a biblical standpoint, it talks about how you should be trying to make money slowly and let it grow up over time. Proverbs 13:11, Bible speaks about this, and it says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." So, like I said, it all correlates. You know what I mean? If you're reading the Bible, it's telling you these things of, how you should grow it slow by slow. You'd understand that when you're trading, you'd follow that same rule that you see here in the Bible. You don't need to try and make money fast. It'll come. You have to learn how to be patient and disciplined. Also things that it tells you to do in the Bible. Not trying to gamble. And honestly, I just think the best way, or the best reason why you should go towards following God as a trader is solely because you don't want to gamble. When traders first start out, they don't realize they're gambling. A lot of them are gambling. When you create a plan, when you create a trading plan, you're no longer gambling. Every time something bad happens to a person that isn't religious or doesn't believe in God or doesn't believe in anything, right? They usually go crazy, take it out on people. They don't understand the actual problem of what's going on or what they're doing or what's happening to them. You're just stuck with that feeling. When you follow God, you start to go to him in those bad times rather than taking it out on other people or, doing things that make you end up in an even worse position, because you have something to go to. You have something to call on. You have that faith there for that, to fall into something when everything goes bad. You have a God there to protect you. He's going to lead you through it. And it might be something that he wants you to learn first. A lot of times, these people, they would lose. And they're just, I lost next day. I lost next day. I lost again next day. But in reality, it's probably God showing you that it's something that you have to deal with. And You don't see it yourself yet. So he's gonna hand you a law so that you can see it. And until you see it, you won't overcome it. He's not gonna make you overcome it because he wants you to be better than the rest. So if he wants you to be better than the rest, he's gonna give you the hardest test. But the hardest test is what's gonna make you better. You realize? So you might be losing a couple trades, but you don't realize that the problem is you're losing these trades because maybe you're just, maybe you're just being greedy. Maybe you're going in with too much of a bigger size and you end up losing a lot, and then you end up doing it again and again and again. God's probably trying to show you, I don't want you to win this trade yet because I want you to learn how to be less greedy. He doesn't want you to be greedy. He wants you to do this, but he wants you to do it not in a way where it will cause you to sin. Because this can easily turn into something to where you're sinning and you don't even realize it. So that's that's just a good way, a good reason to have God too, because he's that foundation for when you fall. You understand the problems that you're doing and you have that awareness, like I was talking about earlier. People who don't have God don't have that awareness. They don't have that awareness of those problems. It all correlates over, like I said. You get angry in real life, you get angry on the charts. You don't have any foundation or anything to learn from that anger in real life. You won't have any foundation when it comes to trading to control that anger. And it's all God at the end of the day. That's how you control everything. That's how everything is controlled. That's how everything is in order and peace. So if you want to be in order and peace in your mind and on the charts, make sure you include God in it. And I want a lot of you guys to realize, just because you follow God does not mean that you're going to be a good trader. It doesn't guarantee you any success, but it does guarantee to make you a better person. And that you know that outside of this, you can always be better in life. You will be the best version of yourself following God. If you choose another career, you will be the best at it following God. Your life will just be 10 times better. So you never lose following God. You'd only get better. If you've been trying year after year after year, I would never tell anybody to give up. Keep trying. It can just be something you do on the side. You don't have to completely give up. But maybe it's not for you. And if it's not for you, that's okay. There's always other things in this world that you can try that can make you money. Because at the end of the day, you just want the freedom. So try something else that can give you that freedom. Or if you want to keep trading, try trading. You can try whatever you want in this world. But following God will be ultimately the best thing that you do try to do. To become better in trading possibly, or just better as a human. Nothing wrong with that.